And we're live. All right. What an exciting day for an iMore show. Let's get this going. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday, September 10th, 2021. Today, we're talking about Apple's upcoming California streaming event, as well as the big news coming out of the Apple Epic trial today and more, because this is the iMore show. Joining me, as always, is iMore contributor Karen Freeman. Hey, Karen.
Hello.
And joining us today as our special guest is iMore writer Luke Phillipovich. Hey, Luke.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm excited. Lots of stuff to talk about.
Good to have you on, Luke. There is so much to talk about. I mean, I was thinking that this show is really just going to be all about the event that's coming in 4 days. 4 days now? 5 days? I can't count anymore. But
4.
Sort of 4 days. Thank you, Karen.
Got my fingers handy.
That's going to get you a designation as the resident math whiz. So watch out. But we have some very exciting and interesting news to talk about that is more late breaking, and that is the ruling in the Apple versus Epic or Epic versus Apple trial. Karen, so what happened this morning?
Yeah, it's actually technically it's not a loss for Apple because Apple won on just about every point, basically, that reiterates their statement that it's not illegal to be successful, except for one major point that Epic really won on, which is the court ruling says Apple is permanently restrained and enjoined from prohibiting developers from including in their apps and their metadata buttons external links or other calls to action that direct customers to purchasing mechanisms. In addition to in-app purchasing and communicating with customers through points of contact obtained voluntarily from customers through account registration within the app. In other words, Epic will be allowed to do its own in-app purchases without Apple getting full control.
Here's my question. It's not so much their own in-app purchases. They can directly link to an external mechanism. Yeah.
Right. So that they can,
but they can link within the app, which is huge.
Right. So Apple's just losing that little bit of control and, having to allow people to go outside of that Apple walled garden, which is what Epic wanted.
Yeah. And now I think Apple's going to do its Apple thing and throw a fit about this in court. They're going to, I don't know if they can appeal part of a decision. I'm not a lawyer. None of us are lawyers. Can you appeal a part of a decision such as this? Or do you risk overturning the entire ruling?
I have a lawyer 20 feet away from me. I can find out. Maybe I don't know off the top of my head.
Maybe we'll get back to it next week. But this is the question that I've been asking since this ruling came out is how much does this actually change for, I'm going to say, smaller developers? Because this might change things for big developers. My question about it is, though, really, is Apple, like, I don't see anything in this that would prevent Apple from mandating also having actual, like, iTunes in-app purchases, like, built into Apple's App Store system. Like, okay, yeah, you can have this link, but if you have this link, you need to have, like, proper, in Apple's parlance, in-app purchases.
Right, but if the developer has the option to do both, then customers will still have the option to, go get around Apple's in-app purchase system and go directly to the developer. You're saying the smaller developers won't have the wherewithal to be able to set that up?
It's not about wherewithal. It's more about capacity, and it's about, it's about, deciding where to put your resources. Like, if you don't already have an external payment system in place, which there are a lot of services, like even smaller services that do, they just can't link to them in their app right now. I wonder if it's worth the trouble, the hassle, because that button, that in-app purchase button that connects to your already entered credit card information that Apple already has, that's so much easier to hit than hitting a link and entering your payment details or signing into your account, whatever that's going to look like.
I also have a web developer, like also not 20 feet away from me. I can ask about that. Funnily enough. But yeah, I mean, I do think it would take a lot of resources to set up a robust payment system outside of Apple's system. So I think a lot of developers will simply choose not to do that because they have to focus their resources.
Yeah.
So,
My immediate impression is this mostly helps larger developers.
yeah.
Oh, totally.
Netflix and Spotify and all of that.
They have almost unlimited resources. So sure.
This entire lawsuit is like, as much as Tim Sweeney and Epic wants to say that it's about all developer, it was never, it's always about their bottom line. It was never really about the small developers or anything like that. So yeah, I agree. I don't think this really changes much for your average developer. I think, like the big studios and stuff might have, and now they have another way to offer payments to their customers, which I'm kind of all for the choice. I don't actually think the choice is actually that bad. I think out of the ruling, this is the one that like made the most sense to me, that didn't go Apple's way, even though I was still kind of expecting all of it to go Apple's way just because we're so used to Apple winning everything. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with the choice, but
yeah, I agree with you, Luke. And Annie in the comment brings up a good point. She says that she wouldn't ever trust purchasing directly from a developer site. And I think she's definitely not alone. She's not everyone, but I think a lot of people will feel that way, that they just trust Apple. And I think Apple's counting on that, that a lot of people would just, even given the choice, they would rather go through Apple's payment system, especially for the smaller developers. I mean, people know Netflix. I think people will trust going to Netflix's site, but they may not choose going to, XYZ company's random website.
Totally.
And it's interesting. I mean, everyone's focused on on what Apple lost here, even though Apple won most of the case. But if you want to know just what Apple won, or just how well Apple won, this is Tim Sweeney on Twitter about this ruling. Today's ruling isn't a win for developers or consumers. Epic is fighting for fair competition among in-app payment methods and app stores for 1 billion consumers, which, take that how you want, but he is not feeling, he's not, going to sleep the sleep of the just tonight, I think, the just and victorious. I think, I think Epic really is going for the big target here in external app stores. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they don't feel like this is a full-on victory, because I think they know Apple can, interpret this in a way that's beneficial to them. And
I think Apple's going to just keep leaning into, you can trust us, you can't trust them.
Totally.
Yeah, which that'll do wonders for Apple developer relations. That's gonna go great.
Well, yeah. And what all throughout this, from what I understand, don't take this as the word of God, because I'm still kind of parsing through a lot of this ruling myself and reading it and stuff. But like nothing in this says that they have to reinstate. Like nothing in this says that they have to reinstate Fortnite or anything onto the App Store. And I don't even think Apple or Epic even really wants to at this point, to be honest. Like it really just comes down to this kind of one sticking point where Apple lost, and I think like it's kind of the right choice in a lot of ways, in my personal opinion. Obviously,
I saw someone with the take on Twitter. I think it was a developer who was talking about how Apple should immediately reinstate Epic's developer account and put Fortnite back on the App Store, because they don't have any sort of standing anymore. And the reality is Apple can take any app off of the App Store at any time for any reason.
Right. Apple doesn't have to.
Like, Apple doesn't. And also keep in mind that the last thing that Epic did before it was kicked off the App Store would still be in violation of the rules, even with this standing, because it wasn't a link out to an external payment system. They put a third-party payment system in the app.
Yeah, and the ruling
still against the rules.
Yeah, and the ruling specifically even said that Apple had just cause for terminating Epic's account, that they to take Fortnite out. Which, I mean, we kind of all knew anyways, because they breach the contract. It's
Yeah.
kind of as simple. It's black and white in that respect, whether you like it or not. So yeah, it's interesting to see what will happen. I'm curious, like, what does Epic do next, and where does this go? I don't think we're going to see Fortnite back on the App Store anytime soon, if ever, to be honest. So,
Right.
yeah.
And just, the other side of the coin, where one of our commenters said that they would only trust doing in-app purchases through Apple. Another commenter, Baron, just said, I always try to opt to pay through developer sites so that they don't have to pay the App Store tariff. So, there are people that feel different ways. Some people would rather support the smaller developers and not have to go through Apple's own site. So,
yeah, but I think this goes back to the small developer versus large developer thing here.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, the problem with Apple's sort of App Store tariff, if you want to call it that, is that it's like, I mean, small business program aside, where you only pay 15% if you make under $1 million in a year. Never mind that should be 15% on the first million, just to simplify things. But in any case, the problem is it's more of a regressive tax system, which, I mean, regressive tax systems might be technically equal, but they're not equitable. And so smaller developers end up footing a larger portion of the bill on their income than larger developers do. So even if Apple did have some kind of mandate where they said, yes, obviously you can have a link to an external payment system, but if you have a link to an external payment system, you must include App Store in-app purchases as well. Even if they did that, even if people flocked to the in-app purchase system rather than those external payment systems, it still hits the bigger developers less intensely than it does the smaller developers.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. So, like, my heart does not bleed for Epic here. It does not. I do not really sympathize with them. I understand what they're going for,
and I think it's still Goliath versus Goliath in this case.
Yeah, it's Goliath versus a bit smaller of a Goliath. The runt of the Goliath lid.
Goliath's slightly smaller brother.
Trillionaires versus billionaires.
It's hard.
Either way. Yeah. It's hard to feel sad either way.
Right.
Trillionaires versus billionaires versus millionaires versus the actual small developers versus thousandaires.
Right.
If that. But yeah, moving on from that, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to say in the coming weeks and months, because this is, I mean, it's a big deal. Like, Apple having to do this now in South Korea and here is a big deal. But it's also not the end of the road by any stretch.
Yeah, Apple's legal team is not going to be downsizing anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
What's the bet? They're still hiring. Moving along from that, before we get into, I feel like we have to do this first because I want to sort of like end on the event. We got to talk about some stuff for next year. And because we can't rest. We can't ever rest. No sleep until ever. Because this week, John Prosser, prolific leaker, John Prosser, leaks what he believes to be. And of course, as I always say, I believe he believes this. But he believes to be the design for what is specifically the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Oh boy. And I have some thoughts, most of them good. So Luke, did you see this? Did you see the iPhone 14 Pro Max leak?
Oh yeah, I did.
What's your hot take? What's your initial impressions of this?
I mean, I think overall there's a lot to love. If once again these renders turn out to be anything like the actual phone, which it's so far away and who knows. And at the end of the day, these are renders made by an artist based on information that they received from some sort of source. So like lots of grains of salt need to be taken for sure, especially this early. But overall, I think that the biggest thing that I noticed right away, and I was like, ooh, I actually do hope that happens, is the flush cameras on the back. So there's no more on these renders, there's no more camera bump at all. The cameras are flush with the back glass, which I don't know if that is something they would do or how realistic that is. I've heard, some rumblings that might not be, that might not actually be that realistic based on how the cameras operate and whatnot. But that is one thing I absolutely hope would come, because camera bumps, especially with as big as they've gotten, are definitely annoying.
See, I disagree. I think that a flush camera just means a much fatter iPhone. And if they're going to fill all that extra space with battery, maybe it's worth the trade-off. But I just don't want to carry around a big, heavy, bulky phone. I'd rather have a camera bump.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about,
True.
I think we're talking about millimeters here on a phone. And I don't know how much extra weight we're also talking about.
A phone is only, generally about, less than a centimeter thick. So a few millimeters makes a big difference.
I guess that's true. But I don't know. I think I'm more in line with Luke. I will take a thicker phone if it has more battery. If it has no battery and no actual camera bump, like flush cameras, then I'll take that. But what's more exciting to me is the design. The overall design is essentially an updated version of the iPhone 4.
What's old is new again.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's weird, Karen, don't you think that we seem to be headed backwards? So
bringing back the round buttons.
Exactly. We had the iPhone. So think about it. We had the iPhone 4, and then we had the iPhone 5 and 5S. So we had the iPhone 5S, and then for like 7 years, we had that iPhone 6, a version of that iPhone 6 design.
Yeah.
With the rounded corners and rounded edges. Well, I guess the corners have always been rounded, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The edges, the rounded edges. Even through iPhone 10, it's a similar design.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in we're back to the iPhone 5S 5 era design. Yeah. And then next year, apparently we're going back to the 4. So it's a curve. It's just a hill.
Next thing you know, they're going to bring back the home button.
They're going to bring back. They're going to bring back.
That's not a prediction.
They'll bring back the home button. Still have Face ID. We'll go back down to 3.5-inch screens everywhere. And so what? 20. So that'll be 2022. 2020. Let's say 2024. We're probably looking at a plastic shell iPhone that curves on the back and has rounded edges again. And it's just the iPhone 3G, 3GS design, going all the way back to the evolved version of the iPhone 6 design, which is also an evolved version of the iPhone 1 design. And it'll have the big black chunk at the bottom that is like where the antennas are.
Yeah.
Full circle. And then the iPhones will all eat themselves and the universe will stop existing.
And then they launch the Apple phone. Like completely rebrand the entire
new
thing.
OS. They'll just launch a brand new OS that runs on every device, like people have been wanting, like a lot of people have been wanting for years, and it just scales up based on whatever device is on. And we get rid of Mac OS and iOS and iPad OS and Watch OS, and we just have Apple OS. I think we just successfully predicted the next 7 or 8 years of Apple software and hardware releases. We did it, everybody. We can all retire. But yeah, it's the everything old is new again. Round, you said it, Karen. Round volume buttons.
Yeah,
that alone piques my interest. But it's also what I call the ice cream sandwich design, where it's got the bit of phone here, like the bit of phone glass here, the bit of phone glass here, and the band in the middle. What Prosser says is a titanium band instead of stainless steel. Now, obviously, I think this would just be for the Pro phones, the titanium. I would imagine we're still on aluminum for the regular phones. I think at that point it would be 14 and 14 Max, if the rumors are true. So, Luke, you're happy with this? You're overall happy with this design?
Yeah, I think so. If it turned out to look something like this, I think I'd be pretty stoked. I know a lot of people that notably, we haven't talked about this yet, but notably then on this design, the notch is gone, and there's still a hole
punch.
There's still a hole punch camera.
What do we think about hole punch versus notch?
To me, To me, I mean, I was never a notch hater. I never hated it. Like, I understand that it sticks out into the screen, and I get that, like, you know, for watching content, it's still a little weird. But if you're gonna put a hole punch where it is anyways, like, how much extra pixels, like, what are you using in that little space that's around the hole punch that you didn't have before? Like, what are developers, or what are people putting there that really matters, I guess?
The only thing that I would want at the top in the top corner there is the battery percentage.
Yeah, totally. And like
Okay.
this design for sure would allow that, at least if they put it back in the OS, which I'm assuming they would. Which, yeah, I agree. That's a good update, and, you know, would make. But I just don't. I don't know. I don't understand the obsession with people being like, oh, you have to get rid of the notch, or you have to, you know, because now everything's moving towards these little hole punch cameras or whatever.
Especially if the trade-off is a hole punch.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't really care anymore. I mean, I've gotten used to the notch. It's not really a big thing.
Yeah, you put the camera in that little tiny area that is around the phone, because you can never completely be bezel-less, at least not anytime soon. That doesn't seem to be. But if you put the camera in there and you literally have all screen on the front, like, now you've piqued my interest. Now you have my curiosity, that, like, you know, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
Now you have my attention.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, like, a hole punch or notch doesn't really matter to me. Like, I guess it is a more updated look. I'll give you that. Like, obviously, a lot of other developers that had notches have now moved to the hole punch cameras, so it makes sense that Apple's kind of going that way too. But it's just like, I don't see what the difference is, like, functionally. There's no real functional difference,
not much.
except for, like you said, the battery percentage would be nice. It would be nice to see that come back for sure.
Yeah, but even a smaller notch would allow that, because it's like there's almost enough room.
And I mean, think about it. Like, think back to before notches, before any of that, back when we had chins and foreheads.
Mm-hmm.
What has historically been up there that isn't up there now? Battery percentage.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bluetooth indicator.
Yep.
And I'm struggling here. I think that's it. Like, it's never been like it's been on Android, because Android, if you look at an Android phone, there's just status indicators for days.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is that perhaps that would leave room for complications. So maybe, you know, like we have complications on the Apple Watch, maybe they'd put little complications up at the top.
Or
you know,
it's
like if you wanted to have the time in another time zone, for example, or, you know, whatever.
Apple implements a very tiny menu bar like we have on Mac, but on the iPhone.
Right.
Let's do that. I don't know. I mean, now the thought is here that this would lead to most of well, I guess technically all of the Face ID sensors being under the display, because the Face ID doesn't actually use the camera.
Yeah.
And people have brought up, like, cameras under the display, but I mean, people have been working on that forever, and they just don't produce quality results, because there is something in between the camera and the subject of the photo, and that is a screen full of pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they can figure that out, though, they can probably put a bigger camera in the back there too.
Yeah. I'm just disappointed that even a whole year from now, the Apple's still not trying to get into the flip or foldable phone market.
Yeah. Well,
I know I'm alone in that, but I would like to see Apple dabble in that. I don't know. I want to see what Apple can come up with.
Just because this is the iPhone 14, remember, this is just one of them. This is the iPhone 14 Pro Max.
Right.
I would suggest that Apple's first foray into foldables would be, I mean, it might be labeled as an iPhone 14, but I think it would be a fifth phone.
So you think it will be next year?
I don't know if it'll be next year. I thought we were hearing like 2023 for that, but
yeah, I think that's probably more accurate.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be next year. At least that's what I'm getting, just based on your rumors and just kind of how Apple likes to do things, I think. Yeah. But I agree with Joe. I think it'll definitely be it'll be like the iPhone Flip or whatever, or Fold, or whatever they call it.
They're not
like, it will be its own thing that will launch alongside like the 15 or the 16 or whatever.
Right. I can see that.
My bet right now is they will call it something along the lines of the iPhone, let's say 15, the iPhone 15 Pro Fold.
Yeah. Something like that.
I could see that. And if they wanted to keep it to 4, they might just drop the second regular phone. Do you know what I mean? Like where they're dropping the mini supposedly for the 14 and replacing it with a Max. Maybe they'll drop that Max and replace that with the foldable. I don't know, because Apple doesn't like to release too many at once.
And Apple doesn't like. I mean, Apple doesn't generally like putting experiments out there.
Well, the mini was an experiment.
Mini was an experiment. See, the mini was an experiment, but the same way Samsung does, like the first folds, those first foldable phones, those were experiments.
Those were miserable.
That people got to beta test for $1,500 at least.
Yeah, but the latest ones seem like they're pretty good.
Yeah,
that's the consensus.
Karen, I kind of agree with you where it's like I'm kind of itching to see Apple's take on it now, because like I've actually been like I'm in the market, sort of like I'm kind of dragging my heels, but I do kind of need a new phone. I need to upgrade my daily driver. And like, I keep looking at the Z Flip and I keep being like, maybe do I go Android this time around? Do I do
that?
I know. Joe might fire me if I do that, but
I wouldn't fire you for getting an Android phone.
But like that now.
But like they finally look like they're at a price that seems reasonable, and like they're they've kind of gotten those really big bugs out of the way. I mean, all software has bugs, and it's not here or there, but they've kind of gotten those big horrible bugs. The hinges have gotten better. There still is a crease.
Look appealing.
Yeah, there still is a crease, but it's much less noticeable than on the first ones. So I'm like, I keep looking at it and being like, it would be fun to have something so different than what I'm used to, And so like, I agree with you, Karen. I'm itching to see Apple's take on it. Like I'll be very, very interested when they finally get around to launching some sort of full foldable, flippable screen.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know what I want out of Apple's foldable? And here I'm assuming that Apple would be doing a clamshell foldable rather, because I think we've heard both a clamshell and, like a Codex style,
right?
A Galaxy Fold and a Galaxy Flip.
Yeah.
In the Flip style, in the clamshell, I really want them to focus on that hinge durability, because I really want it to be meant to be opened with a flip.
Like on Star Trek?
Star Trek communicator.
Absolutely.
Even let me, I don't know if you could even do this in like software, or if there'd have to be some kind of mechanical thing, but let me set the sound. Well, I don't even need it to make a sound, but that would be very cool. But no, I want to be able to set the angle at which it stops on a flip, so it doesn't necessarily open all the way flat, but maybe at like 70 degrees or something like that. So it opens at an angle, like the Star Trek, like they did with the Star Trek communicator.
So like, so you're saying it would be like, is it an angle so that like it's kind of like if you flip it open,
like a phone.
It's kind of like better.
It's like an old phone.
That's a kind of a cool idea. I would have never thought about that. That's kind of a cool idea.
But one of the other things I'd like to see with that is I'd hope Apple would go a lot taller with the open phone on that. And so there would really be, hopefully from Apple, a software push for like side-by-side apps, or not so much side-by-side, but up and down apps.
Yeah.
One app up top, one app below.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would want more of a square shape, like closer to a square.
Yeah. I think that would be more for the book fold.
Yeah, no, either way. Not a perfect square, but not a really tall, skinny rectangle. I don't know. We're
going far. We're going far afield.
In the future here.
Yeah. All right. So before we focus more on the immediate future, Karen, why don't you talk to us about our sponsor today?
Yes. Getting things done is a challenge that everyone struggles with. One way to tackle it is to make sure you have the right tools, and for your computer, that means the right apps. The problem is not all apps do what they promise, and the drawn-out search for the right solution makes it harder to get the job done. That's why there's SetApp. SetApp is on a mission to help users get more done. With SetApp, there's no more worrying about having to search for apps to solve a problem. SetApp packs over 200 apps for your Mac and iPhone into one. There's an app for almost any task, so you can stay in your flow and finish what you started. With SetApp, you can think about your tasks, not your apps. A dedicated curation team only selects the highest quality apps. New apps are added to SetApp regularly, updates are free, and all the apps are full-featured pro versions. It's also a great value. Instead of paying thousands of dollars for separate licenses, there's just one flat monthly fee. Head over to setapp.com to try SetApp free for a week. If you like SetApp, Pay just $9.99 per month as long as it's useful to you. And trust us, it will be. That's SETAPP.com.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Okay. Now, turning our attention to next week. It's upon us. Lady and gentlemen, it is upon us. The California streaming Apple event was announced earlier this week, announced on Tuesday. It's official. This coming Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, like it always is, Apple will unveil something.
Yes.
So
do we want to try to read into the tea leaves on that invite? Other than obviously the word streaming, they're going to talk about streaming services.
I've been going back and forth in my head on this all week, and I really don't know what to do there. So let's talk about that name first. California streaming. Some kind of Apple TV Plus related thing, I think, is a given. Maybe a lot of trailers. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to say, I just started a new Apple TV series and immediately binged the 2 seasons that are available. I am absolutely obsessed with For All Mankind.
Yes.
So if you have not watched it,
it's happening. It's happening.
Highly recommend it.
It's so good.
It's really good.
It starts off slow. The first couple episodes, I was kind of meh. But then when they started getting into the individual people, and particularly brought the women in, like the women weren't even barely in the first couple of episodes, but once they started really getting into their stories,
in an episode almost appropriately titled "Nixon's Women."
Oh yeah, that was a great. That was a great episode.
Without really getting into For All Mankind, because maybe we could start another podcast that is just about Apple TV shows and how much we love it. And we can do whole series on different series. But the end of For All Mankind season 2, the season finale there.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Oh,
it is tremendous.
Chilling.
Very chilling. There is a moment like a 30 seconds to a minute moment that happens there that is very thrilling, and it's also very it can be hard to watch, but it's so good. It's so good.
Are you talking about the sequence that has to do with duct tape?
Yeah, the duct tape sequence.
Oh my god.
It's very, very good. But yeah, I think we'll see a focus. Maybe there'll be some kind of last few episodes trailer for Ted Lasso, because if you're caught up on Ted Lasso, there's a lot to talk about Ted Lasso, and I can't imagine that it's going to be an easy ride to the end of the season. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like that. Foundation is coming soon. Foundation launches on the 24th, which will also be the same day we expect new iPhones to be up to be arriving on doorsteps. Which big day for Apple.
I definitely, digging into the name a little bit, like obviously it's got to be something, like there's got to be something big with Apple TV, and it might honestly just be like maybe talking more about the Foundation, since we know that's Apple's really trying to make that like a Game of Thrones sort of in a franchise for them, right? Which would be huge if they could get something that popular and that good, and especially since we found out, I think earlier today, that like Apple TV Plus is doing relatively well, and they plan on ramping up their content pretty heavily in the coming years.
40 million subscribers with 20 million of those paid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
For a service that a lot of people, I think, are still skeptical about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm paying for it now, even though I said I wouldn't.
They got you.
Yeah, I got addicted. What can I say?
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of expect definitely something related to Apple TV. Like maybe they, when they first kind of launched Apple TV, they had stars come out and talk about some of the shows and stuff and gave little trailers. Like maybe we'll see, probably not as intensive as when they, first launched it, but like maybe we'll see something akin to that. I could definitely see some Foundation news since, that is like a big thing that's coming up soon. So
yeah, but I want to be clear about something. I don't think there's anything we can read into the first part of that event name, California, Like, we're very focused on the streaming bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Apple's in California, that feels pretty
Right.
easy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Steven in the comments, I don't know that they'd have this as the name for the event if it was just because it's another streaming event, because
Because there's been
they've
so
all
many.
been that.
Yeah.
They've all
Yeah.
been that
Mhm.
for the last year plus.
And they've never called attention to it before. So why, if it was just for that reason, why would they call attention to it now? Unless they're specifically trying to psych us all out like they are right now.
Yeah.
Then
Like,
I suppose they got to laugh at us, which I guess is nice, but it doesn't seem like something they would do.
and it's important to note here that one of the things that our friend Renee Ritchie has pointed out is Apple marketing, like the people who actually send out these events, they don't know everything.
Right. The artists who are creating these invitations don't have any information.
Yeah, they're given a spec
specifically about the event. Yeah.
by the event planners, by the event planning team. But yeah, I think there will be, let's say early in the event, say maybe beginning of the event, there will be a focus on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring out some of the stars at some of the shows. Like the new season of the morning show should be coming soon, right?
Next Friday.
They filmed it. Oh, it's starting on Friday already. Okay.
I'm excited for that one.
I love that show.
Mm-hmm. Also started slow, in my opinion, but then
that's one I haven't really been able to get into.
That one, I got into that one right away. I just love it. But I love Steve Carell. I love Jennifer Aniston, and I love Reese Witherspoon. So I just
it's got a good cast for sure.
Tailor made for you.
Yeah.
It's got a really good cast.
So we're like heading towards the tail end of Ted Lasso season 2. We just started season 2. It's going to be a while before we see another season 3 of For All Mankind, which I'm not actually sure has been greenlit yet. I don't.
They're filming it.
Yeah, Steven said in the comments they're filming it.
Well, then there you go.
If he's right, I'll take the benefit of the doubt and say he's probably right.
So I'm thinking a lot about streaming, but that won't be the entirety of the event, certainly, because it's September. Apple, you wouldn't do this to us, right? To just have an Apple TV Plus streaming event, right? I wouldn't have done all this work and had everybody else do all this work to get ready for a streaming event. Because we're also, let's say, fairly certain, 99.9% certain we're going to see no iPhones on Tuesday. The iPhone 13 and 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max and 13 Mini.
We haven't even started talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm like the color, the purported colors for the regular iPhone are like shaking me to my core, because I was planning to go Pro this time, but if they really do a pink iPhone 13, I might have to stick with the regular.
Oh no, but you would probably go up to the standard 13 instead of the Mini.
Yeah, I don't think I can do the Mini again.
Even with an additional hour of battery life on the
1 hour is not enough. By noon, my battery percentage is typically in the 50s.
I wonder what an extra hour does to standby. I really don't know. But I got to tell you, I'm still planning on getting a Mini unless there's something highly compelling about the Pro to me, and it's probably not going to be the cameras. If they can sell me on the Pro cameras, then sure, they've earned that additional money from me. But
then the marketing team has done a good job.
Yeah, but, I don't think so. But we have a report from yesterday about some store listings that maybe went up a little early on a Ukrainian website. For these
pink and purple. Like, we've never had two fun colors like that.
Ooh, is that, are you gonna do a coin flip, or
it's gonna be a tough choice because those are my two favorite colors.
So here's my question, Karen. Would you prefer, if there is a purple, would you prefer it to be a similar purple to what we have now on the iPhone 12, or would you prefer like a deeper, darker Grimace purple?
Grimace.
I mean, generally I prefer like a lavender type shade, but if it's the right shade of plum or grape and it's just like a really gorgeous color, I would probably go for that.
Would it be easy to jump on that rather than the pink?
Oh, I have to see the exact shades because I am particular about my pinks and my purples.
Uh-huh.
But that would be very exciting for me to have to make that choice.
And I talk about a compelling feature for the Pro line of phones, and just as I'm getting ready to go mini again, um, it looks like the Pro line might actually have a black. Now, this could be some kind of mistranslation, and they could bamboozle us again and give us graphite or just do
I know you hate those off blacks. You want black.
I want black. So if this is an actual black phone, I mean, is that a compelling enough feature for me to get a Pro instead of a mini?
It would be funny if both of us were swayed completely by color.
Well, that's the thing about the iPhone upgrade program is at purchase, you pay the tax. You pay the tax in like the first month's payment on the phone instead of, so I'm not, shelling out $1,000 or $700 or whatnot. I'm shelling out like $150.
Renting a phone or leasing a phone rather than ever buying one.
Which is fine for people like who want, people like us who sort of want the best and latest every year. But
right. Well, we want to be up on it.
We want it. Yeah, exactly. And this listing in this Ukrainian store also has the bronze color that we've heard about.
I'm also intrigued by that because bronze is one of those colors. It could be very pretty, or it could be very sort of orangey and not to my taste personally. I prefer sort of a pinky bronze, but
yeah, like I know it wasn't technically bronze. I believe it was just called the gold color back then, but on the iPhone 8 Plus, I think it was also on the iPhone 8, they had that's when they first went back to the glass backs or whatever. And they had their gold color was kind of bronzy, but it kind of turned out more orangey. And I didn't really like it, even though that was the one I went with. Cause I was like, oh, gold. I always want to go for like the different one. And then I kind of got it and was like, whatever.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they're going to have both bronze and gold. So I wonder if the gold would be more, because sometimes their golds tend more towards the bronzy, and sometimes Apple's golds tend more towards the champagne-y. So I wonder if they're going to have gold and bronze, if the gold is going to be more champagne-y and the bronze is going to be more, I don't know, more towards the pink, more towards the orange. They have to be very different from each other.
Yeah, exactly. They have to be quite different for them to.
So they can't lean into each other.
Maybe this year is the year Apple should really lean into like, yellow gold, like 24 karat looking gold.
I feel like Apple did that one year.
Like this has been stolen from Fort Knox gold.
What was it? The first gold iPhone? I don't remember what model that was. It was like super gold.
I want to say that was the 5S. I want to say that was the 5S back in 2013.
Maybe.
Yeah, I feel like 5S or like 6 sounds right to me, like around there, I think.
Well, 5S definitely had gold. I think 5S, there was a rose gold option.
Right.
But there hadn't been.
It was super pinky, right? Like that super pink.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, I liked that.
Because it had, and it stood out because it still had like the white bars above and below the metal on the back.
Yes.
Yeah, where the antennas were.
Yeah.
That was a really pretty one.
Yeah, and I remember like before that, the 5 was still, I think, just black and silver. Yeah, that was a very black phone. Was the 5?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how Apple will name colors the same. They'll use the same color names, but the colors will actually be
they will not use the same colors.
Different.
Yeah. I mean, they always have a space gray or of all their, and it's always different every time.
Yeah, the golds are always very different. Even the whites are different. Some years the white is like a really optic white, and other years it's more of a cream. Really, I think the current one is closer to cream.
And I think
that's what I have.
I got to tell you, I know that they change up the colors, especially on the regular lineup of phones every year. I do hope at least, like, if I do end up going mini, I do hope the blue is similar to last year's, because I really liked it.
Well, I mean, blue has such a wide range of shades in any world, much less in Apple's. So I would not expect that. The product red is different, totally different from year to year.
Yeah,
some days it's almost orange, some years it's almost orange, and some it's like a rich cherry. Some it's almost pink.
Definitely. But we're not just expecting iPhone 13, so new wide cameras on every phone. Yeah. Yes. The same sensor.
Hopefully they're less fisheye-esque, because I feel like the wide lens on my 12 mini is very much, it's very sort of fisheye and distorted when I take a wide angle photo.
Okay.
So hopefully it's more sort of realistic looking.
Yeah. And then I think at least on the pros, I think there were rumors recently of the super wide getting some updates. I don't know. Maybe it's to make the super wide less fisheye as well.
But I would really like to see like a really decent telephoto.
Yeah, and like I feel like we haven't gotten a massive update to the telephoto lens in a while.
Right. Yeah. I mean, non-Apple phones have what, like 10x?
Something like
optical
that,
zoom. I mean, I would like to see something even close to that on Apple. I think what's the maximum on the Pro Max now?
It's
like
it's like 2x.
Yeah,
it's like
2.
barely. I'd like to see more than that.
Yeah, let's get a little more than that. But in addition to the iPhone,
especially because the camera is like the big update this year.
It's really all that's changing. So we've got the camera, but we've also got for the Pro line the display. The display is supposed to be, I'm going to call it ProMotion, goes up to 120 hertz.
Yeah, that just won't make any difference to me. I don't think the last couple of big, like supposed to be striking display updates have not. I just don't even sense them. I can't see them. I don't know what it is. They just don't make a difference to me. Maybe because I'm not a gamer, so it just doesn't affect my day-to-day use.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'd miss it if I stick with a regular line.
In the display,
I'm sort of the same way. Like I think I can sort of see the difference, and I think like a 120 hertz screen is like really nice, and I can, especially if you put them side by side, you can definitely sort of, in your scrolling and stuff, you can definitely see the difference. But like, it's not a reason that it's not the reason I'm gonna buy that phone. It's not the reason that'll make me jump to the Pro or the Pro Max. It's not quite, at least for me. I understand there's lots of people who that probably would be the reason, and that's totally okay. But like, for me, it's like not quite a reason enough to like jump to the more expensive model kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I don't know that we're expecting this to be a massive event. I think so, the iPhone, but I also think we're expecting two other things only, and that's the Apple Watch and AirPods 3. So let's talk about Apple Watch. The scuttlebutt is new design, and with that new design, which is supposed to have flat edges, 2 new screen sizes, 41 millimeters and 45 millimeters. We are now at a point where the small Apple Watch would be 1 millimeter smaller than the original big Apple Watch.
Yeah. And I think this is nice. I mean, 1 millimeter doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about a screen that it's only 4 centimeters, 1 millimeter does make a difference.
Karen,
so that's pretty cool.
Karen, what watch do you wear?
I have this Series 6.
Okay, and do you have a 40 millimeter or 44 millimeter?
Definitely the 40. Okay. As it is, it already takes up my entire wrist.
Well, there you go. So now get ready. We talked last week about the supposed watch faces that are coming and how they'll occupy that bigger screen. But yeah, Luke, you wrote something recently about the redesign for the Apple Watch Series 7. What you had some concerns. What are your concerns about this potential redesign?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like they're not like major concerns. It's just, sometimes wearing a watch, specifically while working out or like lifting weights or doing things like that, the watch can kind of get in the way. But obviously, I want to wear my Apple Watch during my workouts. That's kind of one of the main reasons you get an Apple Watch. Amongst lots of things that I can do, and it can get kind of in the way. And there's obviously there's ways you can sort of mitigate it. Like you can flip the screen around so that the button's on, I don't have my Apple Watch on now because it's charging, unfortunately, but like usually I wear it so that the button's like closer to my hand, which you can flip the screen around so that you can have the button there, which would help a bit with the, this motion, which I'm not in front of my camera, where it kind of bends. I wish I had my Apple Watch on me, but it's charging. So, but either way, I think it's just like, I'm concerned about it being a little thicker and a little like broader on the side might exacerbate that problem a little bit. And it just might mean I need to like personally I need to like fool around with where exactly I place it on my wrist and things like that. Like, it's not a giant, huge deal, but I've kind of always wanted like a bit of a more ergonomic design. And I don't know if this flatter design is really going to be all that more ergonomic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't as I like the squared off shape on the iPhone, but I'm not sure that it would be beneficial on the watch. Like you said, when you're bending your wrist back, I mean, mine doesn't hit the watch, but if somebody some people wear their watches a lot closer to their hand.
Yeah, like I do. I wear it like right on the wristbone. Like that's where.
Yeah. I don't wear it anywhere near there. But if you did, yeah, we would think it would be a little bit more uncomfortable to have all those hard edges.
Yeah.
Whereas the rounded edges are quite comfortable to wear. But the case itself wouldn't be bigger though, would it? Isn't the larger screen sign just mean smaller bezels?
So you measure a watch. This is something that I've heard elsewhere, but I think you measure a watch from the size of the case, not the size of the display.
Oh, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and it would be a physically bigger watch.
I don't think so, because I don't think my current watch is bigger than my Series 3, and the screen is 2 millimeters bigger.
Interesting. Interesting. We'll have to look into that. But yeah, I actually do think I think they will be bigger overall. I think the idea is that these displays would go sort of edge to edge now, and yeah, I think that with the redesign and bigger displays, I think it kind of necessitates.
It would be hard to fathom.
Yeah.
The other rumor that I heard floating, I heard some whispers, I don't know how much credence to give it, is that they might change the bands.
Yeah, that's
just a big fat no.
That's something I'm certainly curious about, especially since if they do make it that thicker kind of, if it is that thicker sort of flatter side and that goes all the way around, like that kind of doesn't necessarily mesh with the way the bands are a little bit now. I'm not saying that we don't know for sure if that's what they're going to do, but like I severely hope that they aren't just, changing the band altogether. Cause like lots of people, not me, I'm one of those people who has like 1 or 2 bands and that's good enough for me. But like,
Renee.
I know people,
we're talking about Renee.
People who have a collection of bands that they, a collection of bands that they use.
Dozens. I have dozens, and I've given dozens away.
Yeah.
You still have dozens.
And I still have dozens.
Yeah, that would be a huge unfortunate thing if they do change it.
There's no reason. I can't think they if they're going to change the bands, they better have a really good reason. And the only reason I can think of is to expand the health features. There were some rumors about that some years ago that maybe some of the health features would be in the band, such as measuring blood sugar or various things that you could put in the band. Like that I would understand. That might be worth making a change for. But if it's just cosmetic to make a change for no reason, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I would think. So it's interesting. We talked about size, and one of the things that might happen is it won't be wider, so it'll fit current bands. Like, because if the body does get wider, it like bands will be an issue because right now they go end to end.
Right.
But
I can't imagine the case getting bigger.
I think it might get taller, a little bit taller.
It could get taller and not necessitate a band change.
Yeah.
Unless
it doesn't get wider.
Unless there is some sort of unless it does get wider and there's some kind of like hingy compatibility mechanism where it has like these little side bits that you go through and you clip
like a dongle.
Yeah. If you have a band attached to the watch, it looks more like it would look more like the band is integrated without actually having an integrated band.
Yeah. And I really think that I really think it would be a dumb move for Apple to change it so much that the bands wouldn't be interchangeable from the old generations. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I am tentative. I'm like a little worried that it could happen because if you majorly change the design, which as of right now it doesn't look like it, but we do know that there is a rumored redesign. And leaks are only as good as rumors, and leaks are only as good until we find out what the actual product is. So I am tentative about that. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think anyone should be panicking. Definitely wait until Tuesday when they see. But
nobody's panicking.
It would really suck. It would suck. And I'm not even somebody who, like I said, uses that many bands. I have a couple, and that's it. but I would suck for those not to be able compatible with a new Apple Watch.
Yeah, I wonder if there will ever come a point where they break with bands, like they just make a watch that does not work with old bands. Like they go, I don't know, one day they go round.
I was gonna say, like, if they ever majorly change the design in some way, like going round or having a round version, maybe I think would maybe be more apropos. I don't know if they would ever completely just change it, but if they ever did something like that, then yeah, the bands would have to change, right? Because it just would be a completely different form factor. But in some ways, like I said, doing the round thing, if we're just gonna riff on that for a quick second, it would be like buying it would be kind of like buying an entirely new device in a lot of ways, right? So much would have to change with a round display that it wouldn't necessarily feel that bad to not be able to wear your current bands, I guess, because it is such a different product. But
yeah, it'll be the 30 pin to lightning transition all over again.
Yeah.
Except some people spent $300 on their Hermes bands and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have literally invested thousands of dollars in bands.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because some of the threads I follow on Reddit, like the Apple Watch, people show off their collections, and some people have literally every band that Apple's ever released.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
like they go on eBay and collect them, and
and the last bit,
it's a sizable investment.
Yeah, that's true. Now, the last bit of hardware before we end the show, the last bit of hardware we're expecting is the AirPods 3,
which is interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Everything we've heard sounds like they're going to take on the look of the AirPods Pro minus the ear tips. Yeah, Luke, do you have AirPods?
I actually don't. I don't have a set of AirPods.
I think neither of you have AirPods because Karen, you have so many earbuds. You have so many earbuds, and none of them are AirPods. But Luke, are you interested in this generation of AirPods?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely want to see what's up with them. And I mean, I like AirPods. I've used other people's, or I've tried them out or whatever, but I've never owned a pair. I think like they're talking about how there's going to be even more battery on these, which would be like a big boom
20%,
for sure.
20% more,
which would be pretty cool.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, and I think like I don't need the AirPods Pro. I've always kind of been like, as much as I think the AirPods Pro are great and they do sound great, and like the ANC is great and transparency mode, like I don't know if I need to pay the Apple tax on my ANC wireless headbuds, because I have wireless earbuds that have ANC that are cheaper than that, and I think they're pretty good. So I don't know if I need to play that Apple premium, but like regular, I do kind of find that the regular AirPods, like even though I do have cheaper pairs of wireless earbuds that I guess would be comparable to that none of them offer that awesome Apple, the awesome Apple, integration, right?
Yeah.
That's something that you miss on all third-party devices. But like when you're getting other features like ANC and stuff like that at a cheaper price, I find that trade-off easier to swallow. But with regular kind of earbuds, I'm always like, oh man, pairing these when I want to pair them to a different device sucks. And like, especially when they're, and I don't know if the price trade-off quite equals out there. So I've always been specifically interested in like just the base AirPods. And what I find interesting about this will be the first AirPods they've released on stage since the very first AirPods. Because every other pair of AirPods has been a press release. Even the Pro and even the Max have all been just press releases. So I'm kind of interested to see like I'm sure they'll go a lot into like maybe like there might be a new chip in this one. They have the W one in the first one, the H one in the second one. Maybe there'll be a new chip, and they'll probably dive into that. But I'm curious to see what they kind of have planned for it, because we're so used to just seeing their headphones announcements now just being press releases that we cover and get the details and stuff. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do. It's like we haven't seen an AirPods. An AirPods since like what? When did they first come out? 2015, 2016? 2016. Yeah. So we haven't seen them on stage for like 4 years. So I'm curious like what details they're actually going to go into them for, and
I wonder
and what's new about it.
I wonder if it's they'll go with like the biggest change in AirPods since the AirPod. Even though that
Right.
probably like theoretically won't be true because like AirPods Max exist, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're supposedly going to do away with the they're going to have wireless charging be a standard feature rather than having the two options.
Yeah, which I think makes sense.
Yeah,
let's-
this
for
just
sure.
seems to be the
let's-
way everything's going.
and Apple, this is just a suggestion, but if that could be priced at the regular starting price for AirPods
Yeah.
at $169 instead of the $200
Yeah.
that it costs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
that'd
nice,
be
especially if they're
swell.
going to keep a pro line, like to keep the prices further apart. It would make sense.
Yeah, and there's still reasons to get the like if you want AirPods, there's still reasons to go for that upsell on the Pro, and that's probably more secure fit with the ear tips, ANC, that kind of thing. Maybe not battery life,
No.
but
And the switching between devices.
yeah, the
automatically.
what am I thinking? Well, yeah, that, but also I would actually imagine that the new AirPods 3 would do that switching, but spatial audio.
Do you think so? 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that is a pro feature.
Is that a pro feature? Don't AirPods 2 do that now?
I thought they did.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't have them, so I don't know.
See, but
Yeah,
I would definitely think that AirPods 3 would do that. Maybe a new wireless chip also in the AirPods 3.
I would expect it'll have a new chip.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
We've had the
bother.
H2 since or the H1 since 2019. So maybe the H2, or maybe we'll pick another letter because we went from W1 to H1. So maybe we'll go to the Z1. Who knows?
And
Well,
they're supposed to have better bass and low ends. That's what they're saying about the
good.
AirPods 3.
All right. We will know more for sure on Tuesday. It's just 4 days. Thank you, Karen. 4 days away now. And at that point, we will all know things, and we can stop using should and supposedly and reportedly. So
And
we'll
next week we can talk all about it.
Yeah,
and what
totally.
we
All the
bought
fun
early in the
stuff.
morning.
Yes, what we woke up early for.
Not that early though.
No,
Recent
not
trends
anymore.
have been 8
Thank
a.m.
goodness.
Thank
I'm up
goodness.
then anyway, so that's no big deal.
Yeah, that's not early. That's just being awake. All right. Until next time, when we actually have definite devices to talk about. This has been the iMore Show. We have come down to the end of our hour. I want to say thanks, Luke, for joining us this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited for the event. I hope y'all, wherever you're watching it or consuming it, and obviously reading all the stuff on iMore, I hope you get a lot out of it because they're always really exciting.
I really want to put an emphasis.
Just real quick, Phone Pup did confirm that the AirPods 2 do the switching between devices already.
Yeah.
So that would not be new. So that's cool.
And I really want to put an emphasis on reading that stuff on iMore, please and thank you. Big thanks to all of our live watchers and listeners and our commenters who join us each week. It's always fun to watch you guys in the comments. Big thanks to everyone who's going to listen to us later in their podcatcher of choice. We do this for the listeners. Huge shout out to Jim Metzendorf, our editor extraordinaire, who always makes us sound so wonderful. And until next time, this has been the iMore Show. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.